everybody, it's me, Zach, this is Judy, and welcome back to our channel. As a quick content warning, I just want to let folks know that today I'm going to be discussing unhealthy relationships, including conversations on abusive relationships, and also talking a little bit about alcoholism and or how Cindy is dealing with her alcohol use. So I just wanted to provide that content warning so that you know what's coming and you can make the best choice for yourself on whether or not you want to proceed in watching this video. Please, please, please always take care of yourself, and if you're not in a place to hear conversations on these topics right now, click off the video and come back if and when you're ready. So hey everybody, it's me, Zach, and I'm back again today to discuss updates on Cindy since the last video I posted. If you didn't know, on Thursday, I posted a video covering Cindy because she had made a few videos last week, and by a few I actually mean two. So a couple videos last week covering a breakup with her boyfriend and how that has led her to reflect on her BPD and things that she needs to do in order to address her BPD, and also coming clean allegedly about all the things that she lied to us about and or omitted, and thus she felt like she lied about because she didn't talk about them at the time. So it might be helpful to go watch that video if you're not all the way up to date on all the things related to Cindy, because I did cover a lot of stuff there. But otherwise, we're just gonna move forward and talk about the things that have happened since then and since the video that I made about her. So in one of those videos, Cindy referenced finding some Reddit posts from Andrew that kind of had led her to spiral back when all that stuff was happening. And of course, because she mentioned that she had found Reddit posts from Andrew, that led to the people of the internet doing what the people of the internet do, which is searching through the depths of Reddit to find posts from Andrew and figure out what posts Cindy could have been talking about. And people did in fact find posts from Andrew on Reddit that discussed his relationship specifically with Cindy and all of the challenges that he had in their relationship. The posts were, or at least the post I saw, were posts that were made in a community that seemed to be specifically geared towards people who had loved ones with BPD. Once those folks found those posts from Andrew, they ended up getting posted or shared in the Life Plus Cindy Snark subreddit, and that happened on Friday, September 29th. Okay, so the day after I posted my video about Cindy's coming clean and all of that. And once those posts became public on that subreddit, then people started coming into my comment section of that video asking me to speak about it, saying, Zach, you need to be aware that these new things came forward. Please talk about this. It needs to be talked about. This, that, the other. And then on Saturday, September 30th, I did a 12-hour live stream on Twitch as a reward for my viewers meeting a subscriber goal and things like that. And so I streamed from 9 a.m. my time to 9 p.m. my time on that Saturday and didn't really pay attention to anything else happening outside of that live stream, which by the way, you can still watch all of it on my Twitch channel, and I will be uploading some specific parts to it to my re-upload channel here on YouTube called Zachary also. There is a link in the description if that's something you're interested in. But anyways, at the beginning of the live stream, not the very beginning, but towards the beginning of my 12-hour live stream, I did have people come in and ask me what my thoughts were about Andrew's Reddit posts and how I felt about them. And so let me give you a little bit of where my thoughts were at the time whenever that happened, because I had time to go read through some of them, so I was aware of what people were talking about and asking me about in that Twitch stream. And at the time, my biggest thought was just that wow, those were posts that Andrew made on the internet, probably not thinking that Cindy's following, good or bad, would ever find them. It seemed like he genuinely was making those posts from a place of hey, I'm just trying to find other people who can relate to my experiences of being in a relationship with somebody that has BPD. However, I will say, well, a lot of the stuff in those posts felt very specific to Cindy, and felt like there was little room for doubt on whether or not it was Andrew. I tend to be very cautious when it comes to things like that on the internet. Unless I hear it from like the horse's mouth, I'm not usually one to just automatically believe that that's who it is or things like that. I don't know. Does that make sense? Like, I didn't really have any kind of way personally to vet those things, so I didn't want to come out and say like, oh, these are all things that Andrew said without knowing for sure that those were things Andrew said. Which, by the way, like, since then, Cindy has confirmed that those were posts from Andrew, which is why I'm, like, now talking about it in a video, right? Like, I don't know if Cindy had never said anything about it, if I would have come out and talked about it, just because I don't know or didn't know that it was 100% Andrew, and I didn't have a way of figuring that out. The other thing that I was thinking about prior to, making this video and while I was in that 12-hour live stream is just that, like, I, in general, am pretty consistent on my channel about trying to avoid in-depth conversations when it comes to situations like this. Situations about abuse, unhealthy relationships, whatever it might be. I fully stopped covering Foodie Beauty for a while because of it, because that was like the whole storyline that was happening on her channel for a while. I stopped reacting to Nikocado Avocado because he was often simulating that on his channel, and there are some things about Amber Lynn that I don't even like to really talk about and or don't talk about, because talking about these kinds of things on my channel makes me uncomfortable, to be quite honest. And then the other thing is that I often worry about not articulating things in the best way possible. I don't always feel like I have the language to really do a good job of talking about these things. And I do take it seriously that there are so many people who are in my audience that have had situations that, like, they can personally relate to these things, and that this can be a very triggering conversation for a lot of people. And, I first and foremost don't want to, like, hurt the people in my audience who relate to these situations, and so I always use a great deal of, like, caution when it comes to conversations like this. So, with all that being said, I probably, had Cindy not done this 3-hour live stream on Saturday while I was streaming, I probably would not have covered this if she herself did not come out and basically, like, confirm everything, okay? So I do just want to be clear about that, and even to the extent of, like, I don't like talking about this, like, my thoughts about this are gonna be maybe more brief than what some people are hoping or wishing for, if that makes sense. But I hope I can articulate everything that's needed in this conversation, and that everybody will understand my points, and hopefully, like, we can all decide how we want to move forward after this with what we now know about the situation. So after my own live stream on Saturday, I opted to take pretty much all of Sunday off. I did take a little bit of time to put a video on my re-upload channel, but outside of that, I mostly took Sunday off. I knew that this Cindy live stream was out there, and I just said, like, mentally I need a break. 12 hours of live streaming in one day was a lot for me. So I woke up this morning on Monday, October 2nd, and I said, like, let's get yourself in the mind frame that you need to be in to watch this stream. And so I did. Well, I didn't watch all 3 hours of it. I am going to be honest about that. But I will say, within 10 to 20 minutes of this live stream, I kind of felt like I knew mostly what I needed to know from Cindy, based on also reading some recaps of what I missed, because I did not watch all 3 hours of it. I think what is the most important really is what she says in the first 10 to 20 minutes of the video, of the live stream that she did. And that's just to say that, like, she fully acknowledges that she was abusive towards Andrew, like, specifically used the word abusive. And I kind of feel like, that tells me most of what I need to know. She acknowledges that those were posts from Andrew and that a lot of it was the truth, although she does kind of like fumble over her words here and there and says like some of it's exaggerated and that, there are aspects of it that are not true. That being said, like, I don't know that she really goes through point by point and identifies what parts are the not true part and what parts are the exaggerated parts. But regardless, like, she fully acknowledges at the beginning of this live stream that she was abusive.
This morning, I blocked a whole bunch of people from my channel. I went on a blocking spree because I was so freaked out and I didn't know what else to do, so I acted very impulsively and I blocked a whole bunch of people. I did do that, not denying it. I blocked them and their comments were deleted when they were blocked. The main topic that I want to address are the Reddit posts. So someone has unearthed Andrew's Reddit account. I'm sure he would be thrilled to know that his private posts were being shared all over the internet. He wrote some very painful things about me, about our marriage, and about things, ways that I had abused him. I never denied being the abuser in our relationship. I said it from the very beginning. I didn't go into the details of the things that I actually did because obviously it's really bad. And it's embarrassing for him and for me. And they are really his posts. They are. I have seen these posts before, several months ago. That's how I found out about the affair. I mentioned it in a video, the video that I never should have made where I talked about the situation, where I chased them down and all that shit. I never should have made that video. I mentioned that I saw Andrew's Reddit posts and somebody went somehow and found them, which blows my mind. Aside from that, I'm not trying to be defensive because a lot of the things that he wrote were true. Some of it was exaggerated, and a couple of things weren't true at all. But a lot of the stuff he wrote was true. I was a terrible partner to him. I was horrible to him for years. I abused him emotionally for years. I was an emotional vampire to him. I damaged him. I hurt him. I destroyed our marriage. I've always known this, and I've never denied it. As you can imagine, it's been a tough day, but it's my fault because these are things that I did, and I have to live with the consequences of my actions. So when he first left me, I didn't know about the affair or the cheating or anything. I believed it was because of me, because of my behavior. I thought he had to get away from me because I was just so bad he couldn't take it anymore, and that's true. I was so bad he couldn't take it anymore, but I didn't know about the affair and stuff. So I was blaming myself, and it was my fault. But then when I found out about the affair and everything, I sort of shifted the blame onto him in my mind, I was like, well, he betrayed me so bad. Like, he betrayed me the worst possible way he ever could. So in my mind, I shifted all the blame on him, and it was easier for me to kind of, like, justify what I had done in my mind. In my mind, I was like, well, it doesn't matter. I might have been mean to him, here and there, but look what he did to me. And now, after this is all resurfaced and looking back at it, I realize it's not fair. We both fucked up, it's true. But I did treat him badly. I did emotionally abuse him for 10 years. I did that. I am taking full responsibility for the things that I did in our marriage. I did terrible things to him. I probably broke him down as a human being, and he didn't deserve it. He did not deserve it. He tried to be good to me. He tried to stay with me as long as he could. He really did try. And when he cheated on me, I believe it was, well, the affair, I believe it was him just trying to find comfort somewhere. He did cheat on me for 10 years. So when he wrote something about like I was always accusing him of cheating on me, I was, because I was traumatized because he did cheat on me 1 year after we got married, and I was paranoid about it the entire marriage, and I didn't handle it well, and I treated him very badly, and I would always be like, are you cheating on me? What are you doing? Answer your phone, like just crazy shit. I did do that. I totally did do that.
So I guess I will say, like, one of the big things that I took away from what she was saying is, like, you know, she wanted to be quick to, like, take acknowledgement of her bad behaviors. And, you know, another thing that she says in regards to that is that she's always said that she treated Andrew poorly. She's always claimed that, you know, she was also in the wrong in a lot of situations. And I do agree, she has always said that. Like, I have pointed it out in videos that I've done previously. I've acknowledged that in videos that I've done previously. And I even pointed it out in my most recent video about her. And I noted in that video that this was nothing new, because she does say it every time that she brings up her relationship with Andrew again. I mean, she literally said it in the very first video about Andrew leaving her, or her leaving Andrew, or whichever way it was. She said, like, please don't put the blame entirely on Andrew. Like, I did a lot of bad stuff too that I have to work on. I struggle because, like, she presents this, like, honesty concept. She's like, I'm coming clean. I'm being so honest. I'm telling you everything there is you need to know, as a way that she can take accountability. Like, she actually uses the words, like, I'm taking accountability for the things I did. But claiming that she's taking accountability, I don't know, it's just, like, so empty, because, like, accountability is a lot of times more than just saying, like, I did this bad thing. I've taken accountability for it. It's more than that, because it also is supposed to be about you then making changes, or at least the way I look at accountability, right, is like, yes, there's the awareness, there's the acknowledgement, but then the rest of accountability is like, you're going to change your behavior, you're not going to do this again, you're going to right your wrongs, you're going to make amends to people that you hurt, and that's what you're going to do moving forward. It's more than just saying, I did all of these bad things, now forgive me, please. And it's like, in the last video I covered, she said, you know, like, this is everything you need to know. Like, this is all the stuff that you need to know about the situation with Andrew, and this is what I haven't been honest with you about. And it's like, we're circled back to this place again where she has to come out here and own up to all of the stuff that she did, because she actually didn't tell us everything that there was to know. And honestly, her coming out here and, like, being honest, heavy on the quotation marks, okay? It really feels like her continuously coming out and being honest about stuff after getting caught in bad behavior and things like that is, like, a part of her manipulation. It feels manipulative to me. She's like, oh, well, if I just be honest, then that's me taking accountability. I don't have to do anything else. There's nothing else I have to do here. I've done it. Like, what more do you want from me? I've admitted to my bad behavior. Well, you haven't changed your bad behavior either, though, is the thing. And it's just, like, very frustrating to me that it's clear that this is a very different Cindy than the Cindy I initially made my very first video about, which was, hey, go check out this YouTuber. I'm enjoying watching her because she's been faced with, like, a really terrible situation, and she's actively showing on her channel how she's working through that. I was like, wow, this is so refreshing. I haven't watched something like this before, or at least, like, I guess it was very different than the content I've been watching or cover on my channel here on YouTube. And the reality is that, like, it's clear to me now that Cindy that I started watching wasn't the real Cindy, and it's probably more likely that the Cindy we see now on YouTube is closer to the Cindy that was existing this whole time. One other thing I just want to note is that, you know, there's been conversations, I've been having a conversation on my channel about Cindy's relationship with alcohol and my concerns about her alcohol consumption. She frequently has no problem like talking about how she gets drunk or drinks a lot whenever she's feeling particularly sad or emotional. And I think a lot of people are genuinely concerned about that for her as well. And I honestly just don't think she's in a place that she's ready to come to terms with that relationship, if I'm being quite honest. And I think that that's just something she's gonna have to do for herself, because people were addressing it with her, were bringing it up with her. She fully like acknowledged that she was drinking during the live stream. She talked about how she does feel like she has an emotional dependence on it, but then also doesn't think that she actually has a problem or actually has alcoholism, because she, isn't like physically dependent on it. And so I think that that's just like, for me, like what that sounds like, and not a professional in any kind of way. I can't like diagnose her with anything or anything like that, but like, to me, that just sounds like somebody who is struggling with their thought process around alcohol and like trying to justify it to themselves. And like, I'm not gonna fault her for having substance misuse by any means, but it does make me concerned, and I hope that she is able to kind of like see that light eventually. She's certainly not a bad person for having those challenges or struggles. But I do think that like she would be well served to like seek help elsewhere outside of YouTube. Much like a lot of the things that are going on in her life, like if we're being very honest. I also just want to say that I feel like it's important to discuss my previous takes on Andrew in regards to what Cindy specifically shared about him in her videos and things like that. In the live stream in particular, Cindy does mention multiple times that Andrew was a repeat offender when it came to cheating on her throughout their relationship, which I do think in his own ways was a way to, toxically enter the relationship and like certainly not try to like make anything better. And the earliest I think that this happened in their relationship was like 1 year into the relationship and things like that. So I do just want to say that I still think and agree that Andrew could have definitely handled things differently. I don't know that it's ever justified to like cheat on somebody. I don't think that behavior is acceptable. I can't think of a reason why it would be okay for Andrew to cheat on her. I just truly don't. It clearly was like something that like did not help the relationship whatsoever, and I don't think that just because like a lot of people are upset with Cindy that it's like okay to excuse that. With that being said, I also, think cheating is different than a lot of the things that Cindy like admitted to doing, or like at the very least like Cindy admitted to being abusive, emotionally abusive to him. And so it's really messy just all around, it's just really a toxic relationship and situation. So I guess I just want to say that my personal takeaway from this situation is that they're both like clearly flawed, nuanced humans who, up until this past year, I think did their best to present themselves on the internet in a certain type of way. I know that Andrew isn't the one with the YouTube channel, but Andrew was in various videos of Cindy's and things like that, and I think they both did their best to present something on YouTube that a lot of us are finding out was not really what was going on behind the scenes. And of course that makes sense. Like, nobody's trying to air out all of their dirty laundry on the internet, nobody's trying to be like, here are all the terrible things I've ever fucking done in my life. Like, that's not something most people are trying to do, okay? Like, that checks out for me that, this is coming as a surprise to a lot of us, because, like, why would we know about most of this stuff happening? Because why would they share that? With that being said, obviously it's like hard to trust situations moving forward. I definitely get that. But I guess I just want to say this because I can already imagine that there are some people who feel like I've been too harsh on Andrew in the past, been too kind to Cindy, maybe some of y'all. I know that Cindy has some very dedicated fans who are still sticking by her through all of this. And I'm sure some of y'all will think that I'm being too mean to Cindy or too harsh on Cindy in this situation. And I just want to say, I do my best to form an opinion based on the information I have at the time. And because I only know the things that they put out on the internet in the past, and because a lot of that is filtered through Cindy specifically, I usually just try to work with what I have at the time. I'm not one, or at least I try not to be. I can't say that I'm perfect and I've never like made assumptions or speculated, but I try not to be a person that, you know, tries to figure out the missing pieces. On my channel, it's very much the situation where I am reacting, commenting on, etc. to strictly usually what I have available in front of me at the time. So I hope in my previous videos about Cindy that you've seen me try to be fair to all parties involved and try to, you know, be cognizant of what could be out there and things like that. But I do know that, like, I literally, just in my last video, I think said that Andrew was fucking terrible or something like that. I remember using the F word in response to Andrew's behavior. And obviously, I probably wouldn't be, well, maybe it's not obvious, but I probably today wouldn't be as strong in that, like, language, although, like I said, I do still think that, like, some of his behaviors also weren't great. But I hope that you can see that my process as I get new information is to adjust and reevaluate and rethink about how I view situations and think about the situations. And I hope that you, as like my viewers, are also constantly, you know, taking in new information and using that to help inform your opinion. I mean, the reality is that, again, they're both humans. I hope the best for both of them. I hope that, like, Cindy can get some, like, actual help and really, truly commit to working on herself, despite the fact that she said that in therapy up until now she's just pretended to want to get better. I hope that she does get better, and I hope that Andrew has found peace in his new life with this woman and, like, his child and things like that. I think when it comes to me and the future of Cindy's channel, it's hard to say if I really want to spend time investing much more into her, into watching her. I mean, it's free to watch her, so I'm not, like, investing money, but I mean, like, her vlogs, she just uploaded a new one today, and it's 33 minutes long, right? Like, 33 minutes is a big chunk of time, just like it is like when you choose to invest that time in me. For me, it's hard to say if I'm willing to do that, because while I hope for the best, and I do acknowledge that Cindy has a lot of mental health struggles and challenges in her way, I just don't know that she's really demonstrated up until this point that she truly wants to work on those things. And while I understand that her mental illness is an explanation of her behavior, it's not an excuse for her behavior, which is something that I've stood by for actually as long as I've covered Cindy, which is how I know that I've also been fair to both parties in the past, because I have critiqued her on her mental health and her responsibility for her behaviors despite her mental health, and it made Cindy fans upset with me, and to be honest with you. But, like, until she's truly ready to do some work on regulating that mental health illness, it's gonna be tough for me personally to watch her, to trust that she's being honest with us. And I think a lot of people in her audience agree with that, to be quite frank. And so I don't know, for me it's just a matter of, like, seeing if she makes changes, seeing if this is gonna be what her channel is about moving forward. Because I also do stand by, like, she could just go back to, like, making soaps, showing us what she eats in a day, and never talking about any of this mess, and I think a lot of people would be down to just watch that. but like, also, I said she already uploaded a new video today, and it's, like, about her BPD, and it's, like, literally her working through the BPD workbook. And for me, it's hard to say, like, is that performance? or is this performative? Or are you just doing this because you know you just had this, like, insane stuff blow up this past weekend? Or are you, like, really trying to do that work? I don't know. I think she's left her audience and me with, like, a lot of trust issues when it comes to her content. So, anyways, I think that's all my thoughts about the situation. I hope you all understand where I'm coming from. I hope some of this resonates with you. I hope that if you have a conversation about this in the comments, y'all stay respectful to all parties involved. And yeah, I hope everybody involved gets better, has a better life after all of this, because it's a lot. And I mean, it's a lot for, I think, a lot of us who are just watching, let alone the people who are actually involved, you know? You feel me? So, that's all I have time for today. Thanks for watching. If you're brand new here, consider subscribing down below. Hit the bell button so you get a notification every single time I post a new video. Leave me a comment, hit like, click share, and follow me on all my social media. I love you all so much, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!